Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models will practically build themselves.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv and welcome to today's show. Today on Tips and Tricks, well, I have got this murder mystery dinner coming up, this pirate and murder mystery dinner I'm going to be doing, and I wanted to do some gold medallions. I was thinking maybe gold, silver, bronze, whatever, for the awards for the best costume. Just one of the things I was thinking about. But just spray painting it gold, that's just not me. And I want to try something new. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of coins. We're going to take a medallion that I've got made out of resin. And I'm going to try out a technique to see if we can simulate real gold. So the materials I'm going to need for today's purposes is my 2X primer from Rust-Oleum. This is my go-to primer for just about everything. I'm going to be priming my resin with this. And of course, my liquid chrome from Molotow. We're going to take it out of the pen and use it with an airbrush. And then the Liquitex high gloss varnish, and it's very important you get this, the high gloss varnish by Liquitex. And you'll see why here in a bit. And some food coloring. And I'm going to use the red and I'm going to use the yellow from my food coloring here. And I just happen to have a little empty jar that I'm going to use to mix up my my varnish. You'll see the technique here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to start by making a medallion. I've got this medallion that we're going to resin cast. I'm going to use the high strength, kind of fast setting Lumelite, and then for the resin I usually use the Lumelite tan. This stuff works really well for me. So the medallion I want to cast comes in the Jolly Roger kits from Lindbergh. The Tentacles of Fate is the one that I got this one out of, but I reviewed a couple of those kits just recently and they both had this. And it's just regular kind of a glow-in-the-dark plastic is what it comes as. This is a really nice painted one here. So I went ahead and I made the casts, and here they are. Here's the ones that I'm going to be experimenting with. Now, if you want to know how I cast them, go back to my live presentation that I did on 8/27 of 22, Saturday morning building with Merv, and I go through how I did the resin casting on this and some of the issues I ran into. So once they're cast, I went ahead and primed them with my 2X primer, and you can see there's some imperfections in these, which is fine. I'm just going to use them as mules and try them out, see how it goes. And then I got these coins off of Amazon, just plastic cheap coins. We're going to dress these up. Again, just spray painting them gold's not going to work. Now I'm not going to prime these. I'm going to take them just the way they are. I'm going to tape these, and I'm going to tape my my primed medallions to a paper plate, and I'm going to go ahead and spray them with my Molotow through my airbrush. You've seen me do it before.
Okay, so I sprayed it with the Molotow, and I went ahead and let it dry overnight. So it was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock last night that I sprayed the Molotow on here, and it's plenty dry. Put it on nice and thick. Some of it I guess went on a little bit better than others, but you know, take a look. It's not bad. And what I'm going to do next is I've got my Liquitex here that I've put, I don't know, just, you know, maybe a quarter of of one of these little bottles. I put in 2 drops of red, and I've put in how many of these now? So it was 1 to 4. So, so I have 7. This is my 8th drop of this. Okay, so 8 drops of yellow, and you can see this is just regular old food coloring. So 8 drops of yellow, 2 drops of red. I'm going to shake this up. Now I did try a different concoction with a 4-to-2 ratio. We'll show you that here in a few minutes. But I'm going to shake this up really good. Now the idea is to put a very thin coat on. Now these are just some mules that I have. They've got some little pinholes in them. They didn't quite mold perfectly, so I'm just using them as mules so we can try them out. Don't want to get a ton of this varnish on there. Okay, we're going to do this angle just a little bit different here. Now you can see that I don't have a ton on there. I don't want to have a ton of it on there. I'm going to put a light coat on the whole thing. So I'm not using a lot of it, and I don't want to try and, speed the process up by putting a ton on here. I want to take what I've got and spread it around the whole thing. Now, I'm not going to have a ton of working time. It depends on the temperature you've got. I'm in the low 70s right here outside, about less than 20% humidity, so no wind. Just a little bit more and to work it in. Now I don't want to get puddles. These areas here where you see it puddling down in the cracks and crevices, I want to try and get it out of there. Of course I want to coat my edge. And I want to keep working it into the areas that don't have any. This is a very complex piece. It's got lots of deep cuts and lots of curves, lots of indentations. So there's a greater chance of it pooling. And again, we don't want it to pool anywhere. Probably put a little bit too much on that time, but we're going to work that around now to the whole thing. See these areas we don't want to build up if we can help it. Don't want any chrome showing, so we want to try and coat everything good. We don't want any pooling either, if we can help it. Now it's starting to stiffen up, so I'm pretty much done with this coat. I don't want to keep working it if it doesn't want to move. So we're going to call this good for right now, this one here. Okay. I'm going to, on this one, I'm going to show you what happens if we put too much. So I'm going to dip this in. Not going to wring it out. Just gob it on here. As if I was to get in a hurry. And, oh yeah, I can just put more on it. It'll be fine. So now it's gonna, I got plenty on there. It's going to take me a while to work all this in. But you can see what happens is it gets down in those cracks and crevices where we really don't want it to pool. And see, I can see that still a little bit here, so we're trying. Try and keep it out of there as much as possible. And then we just work it. We work it around the medallion. Now, we should probably do 2 or 3 coats, very, very thin coats. Don't be in a hurry. Let this thing dry. I'd give it at least an hour between coats. See, this is starting to dry already on some of the flat areas. Okay, we'll see how this one turns out. So there. And we're going to come back here in a few and give us another coat. Okay, now we're going to put a second coat on this one. Hopefully we've given it enough time to dry. By the way, this series that I'm doing right here, this group is the first time I've ever tried this technique. So this isn't something that I've perfected by any stretch of the imagination. You are seeing it for the first time. Okay, well, I did that. There's the very first one I did with a little bit more red. I did that yesterday. So technically, I guess it's not the first time, but you'll see the results here in just a few minutes when I show you. So, let's try to get this out of our brush as much as possible. I just want to get it out of these low areas right now. I think I got plenty of the varnish on it. Especially these high areas, I think we're good. It's quite the face. Just get it from around the swords here a little bit. And from around the skull. I would imagine if you used a fan or something, you know, it might dry a little quicker and you wouldn't have to work it quite so much. I don't know. I haven't tried that. Guess I don't mind doing what I'm doing here. So, again, these are fairly thin coats I'm putting on here with this varnish. I can feel it pulling, so it's definitely drying. It's probably bit into the layer below. So I don't want to pull any of that up. Okay. I think that's as much as I'm going to be able to do on this. As far as working it. Okay, we'll come back here after that one's dry. This will be our one with the second coat. But you can already see the one with the first coat and then this one with the second coat. And I like that. Okay, right back. All right, so it's had plenty of dry time. You can see this one after the second coat. And we're going to go ahead and put a third coat on it. Thank you, Finley. You can already see the tonal change in it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that up because I am not going to use any more of that on this one. I've got a little helper here who's handing me my paints for my rack, which is awfully nice of him. Going to bring every one of them out here to me. I know he is. Well, you can play with that, buddy. Okay. Just trying to avoid the buildup as much as possible. I don't think I'm going to go a fourth coat. We'll just call it good at 3, because I can see how dark this is getting. Okay, we're going to call that good. And we'll come back after that's dry. We'll take a look at the results of the first, second, and third coats.
So here we're going to compare. On the left is the one that I just put one coat on today, and the one on the right is the one that I mixed 4 parts red and 2 parts yellow yesterday and gave it 3 coats. I'm really not thrilled with how that one on the right turned out. Here it is yesterday, and I did the coins yesterday, and you see how they turned out.
And here's the finished product. Here on the far right side is when I had put the, I believe this was 4 drops of yellow and 2 drops of red. And this is 2 coats. Maybe I put a third on that one. Anyway, you get the idea how that looks. And here's the first one we did this morning, coat number 1, with the basically 3-to-1, 4-to-1 mixture, whatever that wound up being, where I had put more yellow in. Here's the second coat, and here is after the third coat. Now, you would have to be the judge as to which one you think looks more like, say, a pure gold medallion. Personally, myself, I kind of like this one with the 2 coats. The one with the 3 isn't bad. And again, this was like 4 parts yellow, 1 part red, something like that. So I didn't add more than just the two drops of red. This was like 7 or 8 drops of yellow and the 2 parts of red. So anyway, this is after the 3 coats. There's after 2, after 1, and then the very first one I did yesterday. So there you go, folks.